Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Before continuing, please review the legal disclaimer provided in the comments section of this video and make sure to see the video till the end to get a full understanding of how it all works. On this channel, we share practical guidance on visa processes, immigration pathways, investment and citizenship options, and related topics to help you make informed decisions. If you are unsure about your visa options or planning your next step, consider subscribing and enabling notifications so you stay updated with the latest developments. Across the world right now, more people are beginning to ask a very different question about migration. Not just where can I earn more money, not just where can I get a visa quickly, but where can I actually build a different kind of life? A slower life, a quieter life, a life connected to nature instead of endless traffic, pressure, and competition. And one destination in the Pacific keeps quietly entering that conversation: the Solomon Islands. A country made up of hundreds of islands, tropical rainforests, coral reefs, traditional communities, and one of the most untouched environments left in the Pacific region. But here is the reality most people do not understand. Living in the Solomon Islands long-term is not the same as taking a short tropical holiday. Because the country operates structured immigration controls, purpose-based resident systems, and carefully managed long-term stay pathways. And if you misunderstand how those pathways work, you can waste enormous amounts of time, money, and expectations. So in this full deep dive, we are breaking down everything global applicants need to know about residence visa pathways for the Solomon Islands in 2026. The major visa categories: work and employment pathways, business and investment routes, family-based residence, long-term stay realities, costs, documentation, the hidden lifestyle truths, and the single most important factor that decides whether applicants actually succeed long-term in the Solomon Islands. Stay until the end, because the final section explains why some people absolutely thrive in the Solomon Islands, while others realize very quickly that island life is not what they imagined. Let's begin. First, you need to understand the foundation. The Solomon Islands is not a mass migration destination. It does not operate a huge open immigration system like major developed economies. Instead, residence permission is tightly connected to purpose, meaning you cannot simply decide to relocate permanently without fitting into a recognized immigration pathway. This is the core structure of the entire system. Residence permission is usually linked to employment, business activity, investment, family relationships, religious or community roles, or other approved long-term purposes. And this is extremely important to understand from the beginning. Most long-term residence categories in the Solomon Islands are conditional rather than unrestricted. Now let's break down the first major pathway: employment-based residence. This is one of the most common long-term stay routes used by foreign nationals. Here is how it generally works. A Solomon Islands employer identifies a need for a foreign worker. The employer supports the immigration process. And once approved, the foreign national receives permission to live and work in the country under defined employment conditions. But here is the critical reality. Your legal status is usually tied directly to your job, meaning if your employment ends, your immigration status may also be affected. And this is one of the biggest misunderstandings globally. Many people confuse work permits with permanent residency, but they are completely different things. Employment-linked residence is conditional. Now, let's talk about sectors where foreign workers sometimes find opportunities. construction, infrastructure development, tourism and hospitality, marine industries, education, healthcare support, technical and engineering sectors, NGO and development work, and specialized professional services. But here is something very important. The Solomon Islands economy is relatively small, meaning opportunities exist, but they are selective and often relationship-driven. Now let's move into the second major pathway, business and investment-related residents. This category attracts huge interest from entrepreneurs and investors globally, but it is also one of the most misunderstood pathways. Many people assume opening a business automatically guarantees unrestricted residency rights. That is not how the system works. Business-related residence usually requires genuine commercial activity. Applicants may need to demonstrate a legitimate business plan, financial capacity, operational intentions, compliance with local laws, and contribution to the local economy. Authorities generally assess whether the business activity appears real, sustainable, and beneficial. This is not a passive residency system where someone simply transfers money and automatically gains permanent settlement rights. Now let's talk about industries where foreign investment sometimes appears: tourism operations, hospitality, fishing and marine sectors, agriculture, transport, import and export businesses, renewable energy, and infrastructure-related services. But again, business success in island economies depends heavily on local realities, logistics, relationships, and long-term planning. Now let's move into the third pathway, family and spouse-based residence. This pathway applies when a foreign national has close family ties connected to the Solomon Islands, most commonly through marriage or long-term partnership. In these situations, authorities generally assess whether the relationship is genuine, whether financial support arrangements are stable, whether long-term living arrangements are realistic, and whether all supporting documentation is consistent. This pathway can become one of the more stable long-term options because it is linked to personal and family connection rather than employment cycles. But approval still requires proper immigration assessment. Now let's move into another important category: special long-term stay arrangements. This includes categories linked to religious missions, volunteer programs, NGO work, community development, research activity, educational programs, and other approved long-term purposes. These pathways are usually highly purpose-specific, meaning your residence permission remains connected directly to the activity for which approval was granted. Now let's talk about one of the biggest misconceptions globally: permanent residence. Many people assume every country has a straightforward permanent residency pathway, but in smaller Pacific nations, immigration systems are often more controlled and more discretionary. Permanent settlement opportunities may exist in limited forms depending on long-term contribution, relationships, investment activity, or government discretion. But this is not a high-volume permanent migration system, and this is where expectations become extremely important. Now let's discuss documentation, because this is where many applications become delayed or refused. Typical documentation may include valid passport, police clearance certificates, medical reports where required, employment contracts, business registration documents, financial evidence, relationship evidence for spouse pathways, accommodation details, and supporting statements explaining the purpose of stay. Consistency across documents is absolutely critical. Small contradictions can create major concerns very quickly. Now let's discuss processing reality. The Solomon Islands immigration system is not fully automated like some major global systems. Applications are often assessed more manually and individually, meaning clarity, organization, and patience become very important. Processing timelines can vary significantly depending on the category, complexity, and documentation quality. Now let's talk about one of the biggest hidden realities: island living itself. Because many people romanticize tropical life without understanding the practical side. Yes, the scenery is extraordinary. Yes, the beaches are beautiful. Yes, the pace of life can feel peaceful. But there are also challenges: limited infrastructure, smaller healthcare systems, higher import costs, variable internet connectivity, slower logistics, limited product availability, and geographic isolation from major economies. For some people, this becomes paradise. For others, it becomes overwhelming. Now let's talk about cost of living. This surprises many global applicants. Island economies often rely heavily on imported goods, which means daily costs can become much higher than expected. Food imports, construction materials, vehicles, technology, and household products may all carry higher prices due to shipping and logistics. Financial planning becomes extremely important for long-term residents. Now let's discuss who these pathways are actually suitable for. Generally, the Solomon Islands resident system works best for people with genuine employment opportunities, business operators with real long-term plans, spouses and family members, NGO and development professionals, long-term project workers, and people genuinely seeking slower island-based lifestyles. It is not designed for unrestricted mass migration. Now let's talk about something many people underestimate completely: cultural adaptation. The Solomon Islands has strong local traditions, community structures, and social expectations. Success long-term is not only about legal approval, it is also about how well someone adapts socially and culturally. People who respect local communities, adapt patiently, and build relationships often integrate far more successfully. Now let's move into the single most important concept in the entire process: purpose alignment. This is the hidden key behind successful applications. Not just money, not just paperwork, not just qualifications, but whether your reason for living in the Solomon Islands genuinely fits a lawful and realistic immigration pathway. When purpose is clear and genuine, applications become much stronger. When purpose appears vague, inconsistent, or unrealistic, problems begin quickly. Now let's talk about the future direction. The Solomon Islands continues balancing several priorities at the same time: economic development, foreign investment, infrastructure growth, environmental protection, cultural preservation, and immigration management, which means residence systems are likely to remain controlled and purpose-driven rather than fully open, and this makes strategic planning even more important for future applicants. Now here is the final insight. The Solomon Islands is not simply offering residency, it is offering a completely different lifestyle reality: a slower pace, a more isolated environment, closer connection to nature, and a life that operates very differently from highly urbanized modern societies. And the people who succeed long-term there are usually not the people chasing shortcuts or fantasy island dreams. They are the people who genuinely understand the realities, limitations, opportunities, and responsibilities that come with building a life in one of the most unique island nations in the Pacific. Because in the end, residence is not just about getting permission to stay somewhere. It is about whether the life waiting there actually matches the future you truly want to live. If you found this video valuable, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel because we break down real immigration pathways, real strategies, and real insights so you can make the right decisions without falling into common traps. And our expert team and associates can assist you to simplify this entire complex process and guide you from start to finish with complete peace of mind. Do get in touch with us. Now on our WhatsApp mobile number, +64 2217 86007, also provided in the comment section of this video, and we will get in touch with you as soon as possible. Your journey deserves the right start, and it starts with the right consultation. And now you have it. Thank you for watching.